Welcome to the Black Box Podcast. I'm your host, Kenneth L. Johnson, president of the diversity recruitment firm East Coast Executives. Black Box is a career consciousness portal for Black men powered by East Coast Executives. I'm really excited today because I have a gentleman on the show that I met out in Philly while I was doing a show called the Career Seekers Radio Show. I have a great deal of respect for him. He came through, we chopped it up, we had a blast. So of course, I decided to circle back and revisit this for the Black Box Podcast. We have Calvin Purnell Jr. on today, author, coach, mentor, speaker, global diversity and inclusion manager, and all-around good dude. Calvin, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, Kenneth. I appreciate the opportunity and glad to see you again.
Listen, man, it's been a minute. I think we both survived the pandemic, apparently. So that's a good thing. Look, I've stayed connected. You know, it's a different world that we live in. I've stayed connected through your social media. I've stayed connected just and knowing people that know you and just like, all right, well, you know, Calvin's still out here doing what he does, man. So tell the audience a little more about you and what it is that you do.
Okay, thank you. Again, thank you for the opportunity to speak on your podcast. So again, Calvin Purnell Jr., I am an author of 2 books right now, working on my third. The first book is called Polished, A Young Professional's Guide for Success. The second book is called Polished, Preparing for What's Next. The third book that I'm working on is going to be still in the Polished series, and it's going to be called Polished, the Resilience Chapters.
Okay.
And the reason I say the resilience chapters is because we've gone through a lot over the past 2 years, dealing with COVID, with the pandemic, George Floyd being murdered, you know, just a lot of unrest across the world. And then also a lot of change that has happened across the world, whether it's in your personal life or your professional life. So I figured it's time to start telling stories about being resilient. And it puts you in a space where when you are being resilient, it shows you what you're made of. So those are some of the things that I've been working on over the past 2 years. Outside of that, I did make a career change. Was in technology for the majority of my career. It'll be 29 years that I've been in technology in June. But recently, I just made a career change into HR, moved over to diversity and inclusion as a senior offering manager, where I create D&I training for global managers.
You know, I wasn't aware of that. So you're telling me something here. So most people are running towards tech. I'm sure there's some tech components of what you do and what we all do, but kind of give me an idea on what the thought process was and kind of shifting over to DEI.
Okay, yeah, so COVID happened, then George Floyd was murdered, and during that time of the civil unrest that was happening across I won't even just say in the country, across the world, you know, we had a lot of changes going on. So I had a conversation with my son, who was 19 years old at the time, because of the police brutality, and, you know, just talking to him, seeing where his head was at. And you know, one of the things that he told me, he said, "Dad, I'm scared." Mm-hmm. And that took me back, because when I was growing up, you know, I wasn't really scared of police officers or anything like that, but it was more so along the lines of being harassed by police officers, whether just walking down the street in a neighborhood that they didn't think that I belonged in, or driving a brand new car, which I owned. You know, working at McDonald's, I was able to afford to purchase a brand new car for myself, being stopped and making sure that I had the keys, had the registration, license, and so forth. So I wasn't really scared, but it was more so along the lines of being harassed. So then having a conversation with my son in 2020, he says, "Dad, I'm scared." That initially told me that I needed to do something to get involved to help make change happen in this world. And I started, you know, just getting involved in different diversity and inclusion conversations, and, you know, just telling stories of being Black in America. And then I took a course at Cornell University to become certified in DEI. And during that time, I was having conversations with my mentors. I had 3 mentors at the time, just talking to them about, you know, my thought process by taking the training. And they all said, based on the career path that I had for myself, that the DEI training wasn't going to do anything but help me. It was going to make me more well-rounded. So I got involved in a few different projects at the company that I work at, and, you know, had a conversation with one of my mentors later, and I think it was early third quarter. And she asked, "Did you ever think about looking for opportunities in DEI?" And I said, "Actually, I haven't," because my thought process was more so along the lines of just telling stories, getting involved, seeing what I could do to make change happen, and so forth. So she recommended that I reach out to our VP at the time, just to have a conversation to see where things are going, if there's any other education that I need to get to help move in that direction. So had conversations with the VP. She told me what opportunities she had available. And I said, you know what, let me explore them. Let's see what they're about. So I took the time to explore, continued to build the relationships with the VP of DEI and also with the hiring manager for the roles that were coming up. And, I felt that though it would be a good fit for me. So during that time, I competed for the roles that they had available and, just continuously also working on building my team up that I managed at the time. And, just trying to make sure that I was putting myself in the right position. And one thing that I learned during COVID is you should do what you want to do, not what the company wants you to do. Because if you have to get up every morning and go to your job, it should be something that you truly enjoy doing. So the role that I'm in now is something that is a great fit for me. It gives me the opportunity to utilize the skills, the gifts and talents that I have for myself when it comes to writing, public speaking, also, encouraging, coaching and managing and mentoring people. So it puts me in that space where I have the opportunity to share my wealth. So that's pretty much the gist of the career change.
Man, that's amazing. I love the story. You know what I find interesting? I think, wow, so just to age myself through here, I started my business, it'll be 22 years in September. As a diversity recruitment firm. And it's amazing when I hear stories today where individuals can go to the VP of DEI to speak about pursuing careers in DEI. That role, there was no VP of DEI. Like we really were working through on something that was, I don't want to call it mystical, but we were speaking about something that people couldn't grasp because it wasn't necessarily a core business function. So as I came in like, hey, we're a diversity recruitment firm, and then we had to go and explain what exactly that was. For us, it was representing Black and brown talent primarily, but it's interesting. And I love the fact that we now have organizations that have embraced it to the point that they have some structure around how they deliver that, not only internally, but externally within the communities that they serve. So that's amazing. So kudos to
Absolutely.
you for making that move. Hopefully we'll get some opportunities to collaborate and think about kind of what that looks like as well down the road in the future. All right, so look, we spoke about your career in tech. You kind of making the shift from tech, but one of the things you spoke about that I thought was really interesting, managing, mentoring, and I know from just knowing you that you do some volunteering out here. So let's just take it back to, as a manager, what do you see as your core responsibilities as far as giving advice to young men, young Black men that are entry level in their career?
That's a great question. So one of the biggest things that I like to do is, number one, I like to get to know those individuals, find out who they are, what they've done, what they see themselves doing, and then also getting into the conversation of tapping into what their gifts and talents are. So that way, if I am going to end up being their manager, I want to know where I should start positioning you for opportunities for growth. Because when you come into a role and it's your entry level, you come into that role, you're coming in there, wide-eyed. You want to learn as much as you can possibly learn. And a lot of times we find ourselves positioning ourselves in roles that we think we're a good fit for. But me as a manager, my number one goal is to find out what your core strengths are and what your weaknesses are. And those strengths are, it gives me the opportunity to hone in on them and help position you for growth opportunities in those spaces. Not to forget about your weaknesses, because we do want to start developing them, because everybody has weaknesses and we want to do our best to be strong, to develop them and get more so honing in on those strengths. Once we hone in on those strengths, it gives us an opportunity to position you for different types of education, because I truly believe that continuous education is going to help you with longevity in your career. In a space where you are finding people who can mentor you, and not only people who can mentor you, but you mentoring other people as they grow and as you grow. I feel as though that's extremely important. So definitely positioning people for success based on their strengths, those weaknesses, and help push them forward for better opportunities as they see themselves growing.
That's great. Yeah, professional development. So is that process kind of a career mapping where you kind of set their journey at that organization?
It is, yes. So it is a career mapping opportunity. You do find some people who come in fresh and they're like, I really want to focus on this area. And I'm like, that's totally fine. My goal is to help you develop, whether you want to stay in this role for 3 years or you want to, and then move on to something else, or if you want to stay in this role for 10 years. the goal is to develop you and put you in those spaces where you're constantly learning something new and sharpening your skills. So when it comes to career mapping, a lot of times people think about, moving from one role to the other role. And that doesn't necessarily mean that's true for everyone, because you may find some people who are happy in the positions that they're in. You as a manager, and I'll speak for myself, me as a manager puts me in a space where I need to help lead that person down the right path to continuously be successful in that role if they decide to stay there for X number of years.
Sure. I always share with people, I was fortunate enough to have a really clear understanding of what I wanted to do. In the micro, right? In the macro, what I wanted to do at a young age. I was in college and I knew I wanted to own a staffing firm, right? I didn't know it was going to be a diversity recruitment firm because I wasn't familiar with the term and or the silo of recruitment that is diversity recruitment. But I knew I wanted to own, I thought it was going to be a temporary staffing firm. Ended up in Philadelphia, got connected with Joyce Holly, Pat Troy, sisters that had a staffing firm on Walnut Street. Great people. Then was able to connect with a gentleman named Bernard Johnson, who had a search firm on Broad Street. And through working with Bernard, I kind of saw where we were being supported. The people that were supporting us looked a lot like us, right? And the people we were getting hired looked a lot like us. So just through osmosis, I'm like, wow, what we're really doing is diversity recruiting. And I kind of came through like that, but it still was in line with what I wanted to do. I think what you're doing is really interesting because I often believe that a lot of people come into organizations, they take the job. Like they find a job opportunity. Listen, if I would have found a job at, I don't know, I was in Philly, PGW, right? Or Pico, I would have probably still been there, working there, right? Doing, whatever it is that I'm doing. But I commend you for saying, hey, you came in as an entry-level talent. Let me sit down, let's do a skills assessment and then position you for where you might want to go. Because I do believe the next phase of that might be you having a conversation about how they should track through. And if it's not at your organization, maybe it's somewhere else, but still encompassed by the skill set. Am I right with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You find people who, come in and they're able to navigate the organization that they work for and, move around from role to role. But a lot of times, maybe that organization isn't the best organization for you. My goal as a manager is to get you positioned for the right opportunity for you, whether it's with the company or external opportunity. My other goal is to also, if you're top talent, you're great talent, keep you in the organization. Right. That's the number one goal realistically. But at the end of the day, it's up to the individual to make that decision because they see themselves how they see themselves. I don't live in that person's body. If they see this isn't the greatest opportunity for me, I think I'll do better somewhere else, then hey, I'm not going to be mad at you. I'm going to commend you and say, go for it, do your thing. I'm always going to be here to support you however I can and, move forward from there.
Man, I really enjoyed this conversation because what I heard there was that you're an active sponsor for some individuals within your organization. And we all know, like, that's the person that's speaking up for you when you're not in the room. But it sounds like you're saying, hey, this person has this skill set. Maybe I need to roll over to marketing and speak to my peers over there and say, there's a person over here with a skill set that's really interesting that might be a good fit here. Is that part of the process for you?
It is, and that's a part of having relationships, right? So one of my number one mentors at the organization that I work for is someone who helps me navigate the business. The company is a huge global organization. And when I first started due to acquisition, I'm like, how the heck am I going to navigate this big machine? Couldn't figure it out. But then I ran into my first mentor and she said, you know what? You sound like you need someone to help you navigate the business, introduce you to the right people and help you make connections. And that's the first mentor that I had and still number one mentor for me today there. And she continuously helps me navigate. I'll go to her, schedule time with her and say, hey, these are some of the questions I have. These are some of the things that I'm thinking about. Can you help me navigate IBM? Can you introduce me to some individuals who you think may be beneficial for me to learn about those areas? And that's exactly what happened. She helps me navigate the business. And, once you have someone in your corner that can help you navigate an organization, you can't go wrong because, again, that person will mentor you as well as be a sponsor for you because they know the work that you've put in to get you to where you are today, also to where you're going.
Man, you know, you're making this interview a little too easy because you're leading me down the road here. So you said that your mentor, you said she. So let's talk about that. Naturally, sometimes people believe that their mentors have to be like, if I'm a black man, my mentor has to be a black male. If you know, if I'm a white female, my mentor has to be a white female. That's not the case.
Not at all. Not at all. Your mentor should look like the world, as far as I'm concerned, because you're going to learn something from everybody. You know, and that should be the goal, depending on the organization that you work for. And I won't even just base it on an organization. We live in a world that is made up of a whole bunch of different people, you know, and I think the point of it all is making sure you get the right mentors, no matter gender, no matter race. It should always be the right mentor. And I was just having a conversation with someone the other day about picking mentors. And I told him, I said, it's kind of like therapy. When you're going through therapy, you're going to try out a therapist. And if that therapist is not the right fit for you, you move on to another therapist. And then it's the same thing with mentorship. If you meet with someone and you have a discovery conversation with them and you talk to them about what your goals are and where you see yourself going and why you think that person will be the one to help you, if the energy levels don't match, drop them, move on to someone else. You have to do it. It's a trial and error process. So mentors should look like the world as far as I'm concerned.
You know, for those individuals that are out here and they're looking to, there's going to be people that watch this and say, I want Calvin to be my mentor, right? Uh, for those individuals that are looking for mentors, do you have any suggestions for them on how to kind of navigate that process to identifying someone that they may want to have that discovery conversation with?
Absolutely. The first thing is, number one, figuring out where you see yourself going. What is it that you're looking to learn? Because mentorship is all about education. You're going to get non-traditional education from a mentor because the mentor is going to talk to you about things that you won't be taught in school. The formal education is not what your mentor is going to give you. They're going to give you they should talk to you about their failures, their successes, and everything that they've learned along the way. Now, when it comes to that, those mentors that you're looking for, if you identify someone as a possible mentor for you, you know, do your research on them, check them out on LinkedIn, see what their social media looks like. And if you think it's a good fit, reach out to them. Just ask, hey, wondered if I can get 15 to 20 minutes of your time. This is the reason why. You know, you introduce yourself, of course, and then tell them the reasons why you're looking to get some time on their calendar. Take it a step further. If that person is local to you, see if they're willing to meet up with you for a cup of coffee and you treat them to the coffee, or take it another step further, treat them to lunch. You know, those types of things, because it's a give and take type of thing where you're asking for someone's time. So you want to make it worth their while. The other thing is making sure you are well pointed with your questions. Go to your mentors with the questions because you don't want to waste their time. Their time is extremely valuable, and you want to make sure you're utilizing it as best as you can because the information that you're asking them is going to be something that's going to help you and develop you as you move forward in your career.
You know, I remember our first conversation. Shout out to Tiffany Sutherland, by the way, who I think made the connection that got you to come to the Career Seeker Show. But we were on this topic of mentorship, and you had mentioned something, and I immediately recognized it from the Think and Grow Rich book, where people can have mentors that they've never met, that might not even be alive at this time, but they can grab tidbits of information that they've left here for us through their books or through their speeches, and we can apply some of that to our career journey. Is that still a part of how you operate as a person?
Absolutely. I learn from people that I've never met all the time. You know, number one, Napoleon Hill. He's someone that I learn from regularly. Napoleon Hill he wrote my second favorite book, which is called Outwitting the Devil. And I learned so much from that book, and it made me dive deeper into who Napoleon Hill is. And I learned so much more from him through his audios that he has available on iTunes, like about 10 hours worth of speeches that he has. And, you know, gives me opportunity to go back and listen to some of the things that he's saying, because a lot of the information Napoleon Hill spoke about is relevant to today. You know, he wrote the book Outwitting the Devil in 1938. It didn't get published until I think like 2011 or 2013, somewhere around that time frame. But that information is so relevant. And, you know, when you have mentors who you don't know, you have the opportunity to learn about them based on the breadcrumbs that they've left along the way. And one of the things that I love about social media is it gives you an opportunity to get a glimpse into someone's life who you admire. And a lot of times people who are out there sharing information, they're sharing it for free. There are a lot of people out here, and I'm not knocking anyone who charges for courses and charges for you to come out to hear them speak and so forth. I'm actually a person who charges to come out and speak as well. But people leave information. I do it myself. I populate information on my social media platform that helps people along the way. A lot of the information that you get from some speeches that I may have said, you may find a nugget or two of it out on social media, and it may help you. So yeah, you can definitely learn from people who you've never met, and they could be your mentor as long as you continue to follow them.
Gotcha. Just speaking about some of the follows on social, are there any particular follows that you could recommend for our audience? Like, hey, there's some good content happening over here.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
outside of the black box feeds, right? Outside of the black box apps and all of that, but is there anything else out there?
Yeah, so I like to follow, Adam Grant is one person that I follow. I follow Thich Nhat Hanh is somebody that I follow as well. He passed away recently. He helped me with mindfulness and awareness. And it just depends. One of the things I would have to say is you have to find exactly what it is that you're looking for, because social media has, as we all know, has tons of information out there. But career focused information, you want to make sure that you put yourself in spaces where you get information from people that you definitely feel as though that you can listen to and learn from. I just recently started listening to Earn Your Leisure podcast.
Yeah, they do some
those
great
guys
work.
are awesome, and I actually started from the very beginning, and I'm working my way up, to get current on their episodes. They bring people on who talk to you about their career journeys, about, some of them may be entrepreneurs, some of them may not be, but they talk to you about a lot of the information and experiences that they've had along the way. There are quite a few people. There's a lot of people that I listen to. And just to rattle them off the top of my head, I actually, Minda Harts is another one. That's another one. I just, I heard her on Tiffany's podcast years ago, so I started following her, and she and I connected. I say she's my sister, and because a lot of the information that she populates is definitely beneficial. Even though she is geared towards speaking to women, that information is very beneficial to anyone, and you can relate it to your life in any way that you can. So and the other thing too, just to plug Minda, I purchased her books for my daughter, so definitely,
Listen,
check her out as well.
I always try to support Minda. Minda used to live here in Harlem. She's one of my original TEDx Harlem speakers. I've had her on my Digital Career Success Series podcast. I've done her Secure the Seat podcast. I love her so much. She's good people. So yeah, I definitely co-sign that.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Hey, so real quick before we close out, I know you got that. If you don't mind, let's go over the 3 books again and where people can find them.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So,
and then also after that, I want you to lock in and let people know how they can stay connected to Calvin Purnell Jr. and the work that you're doing as well.
Okay, sure. So the first book is called Polished, A Young Professional's Guide for Success. The second book is in the Polished series called Polished, Preparing for What's Next. Those books are available at Barnes & Noble, Amazon. You can also go to my website, cpspeaks.com, and purchase them from there. You'll get a direct, you can get it directly from the publisher if you choose to go that route. Or if you want to get it directly from me and have it signed and autographed for you, you can come directly to me at cp@cpspeaks.com, or you can reach out to me on social media. If you just type in Calvin Purnell Jr. on Instagram, it'll pop up. That shows up as Mindfully Speaking, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn, shoot me a direct message there, and you just, again, pop my name in, Calvin Purnell Jr. It'll come up. You should see my picture. Definitely, feel free to send me a message. I'm very responsive, and I love communicating with people and having dialogue and so forth. And if there's anything that I can do to help you out, I'm more than willing to do so. Working on my third book in the Polished series, which is going to be called Polished, the Resilience Chapters. Hopefully that'll be out by the summer, working with the publisher on getting that up and running and, get things going from there. And then I'm going to close out the Polished series with which was the original last book in that series. But now it's going to be the fourth book in the series. It's going to be called Polished, Developing the Leader in You. So those are the books that I have published, the 2 that I'm working on. You can connect with me at cp@cpspeak.com if you choose to email me or on social media.
Man, I wish I would have had. So, I have the original Polished book, the one that started the series, and I believe you signed it for my son. I think I have two of them. I gave one to him, and the other one, I was looking around my apartment like crazy. I was going to have it sitting up in the back for you, but I couldn't find it, which probably means that I think I've moved twice since our original meeting. So it's in a box somewhere. However, just appreciate the work that you do, man, and appreciate you as a person. Thank you so very much for joining us on the Black Box App podcast. This has been amazing, man. I really, really appreciate you, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate you as well. And again, thank you for having me. And, anything else that I can help you with, please feel free to reach out. Always more than willing to help out in any way I can.
Yeah, we got some things going on up in Philly, probably in the spring. So I definitely be leaning on you and checking in when I'm out there in my favorite city.
Okay.
So yeah, let's make it happen.
All right, for sure. Also, I'm willing to come to New York if you need me to.
Hey, let's work on that as well.
All right.
All right, Calvin Purnell Jr. on the Black Box App podcast, man. Please visit www.blackbox.tech if you want to download the app, and you will find this and all of our other podcasts on our social wall in the app. This is what we do. We try to amplify the voices of great Black men, and I think we did that today. We were successful. Calvin Purnell Jr. Connect with him on his social media feeds, and I believe that was cpspeaks.com. All right? Thank you.